Welcome to the Borderlands Show, Vault Hunters. On today's show, stream team member and host of the Bordercast, Mitsu, is here as a special guest host representing you, the community. We talk to Borderlands 3 live lead Graham Timmins about Borderlands 3 content updates past, present, and future, including the update roadmap shared in the community love letter earlier today on Borderlands.com. Graham answers your questions regarding future updates, balance changes, content drops, and more. We're announcing Borderlands 3's next seasonal event and sharing the first ever footage. Plus, we are going to tell you what to expect out of the Gearbox panel at PAX East later this month.
That is a mighty lineup of information, but of course, we're back with some more golden keys for you in Borderlands 3, so stay tuned for that as well.
It's a humdinger of a show, kiddo, so don't go anywhere. That's right, we're back, everybody. Of course, you need to subscribe, twitch.tv/Borderlands, youtube.com/Borderlands game. And of course, send in all your questions to be part of the show, kindafunny.com/Borderlands. But enough about that. Mitsu's here.
Oh, God.
Yay!
Hi, everybody. Hello, chat, because I know you guys are going to be like, who's Mitsu? Or some of you guys are just going to lose your minds.
They know who Mitsu is.
I guess
That's the thing, is it's going to be an interesting chat to watch. Because there's going to be, as usual, a whole bunch of people like freaking out that you're on the show, then other people be like, who is this guy?
Yeah.
So let's start there.
Okay.
Mitsu. Who the hell are you?
So I am a streamer. I stream on twitch.tv/MitsuShow, MitsuShow, and on Twitter, twitter.com/MitsuShow. I play primarily Borderlands, Borderlands 3 specifically.
Yeah,
you might have heard of it. It's a game that came out very recently. I got my start I go back a long way. I was inspired by streamers from a long time ago, specifically like St. Vicious, and they had very similar humor styles to me.
Sure.
And I was like, well, if he can kind of do that, so can I. So I saved up some money, bought some equipment, and the rest is kind of history with that. As far as Borderlands, I got my start playing Borderlands. Some friends told me about first-person shooters.
Okay.
Because I had played my favorite game of all time, Half-Life. I don't know if you've heard of it.
I've heard of Half-Life too.
Yeah, a second one came out. We're still waiting for a third.
Yeah.
You never know. I got my start doing that. We moved into Borderlands. Friends of mine turned me onto the game, and I loved it. Messing with loot and shooting at the same time.
Sure.
Yeah.
Where can you go wrong? Come on. What are you doing? So I was in a weird financial situation, and I couldn't actually afford Borderlands 2.
Is that what they call broke?
Yes, I was broke.
I've been in a weird financial situation a lot as well.
Yes. It was layman's term broke. So what happened was a bunch of friends of mine got together for my birthday because Borderlands 2 was released on September 18th. My birthday is September 19th.
Very nice.
They bought me Borderlands 2 for my birthday. And I was truly blessed because, 6 months later is when I started streaming. And
That's awesome.
the one game where everybody came back, thank you, chat, for doing so, is Borderlands. And that's how I got involved in the Borderlands community, thanks to some really dedicated friends.
So wait, how do you go from being a Borderlands streamer, a big Borderlands fan, to now being so ingrained with the franchise, I guess, right? Because you're obviously running Borderlands shows yourself, right?
Yeah.
Every week.
Right. I feel like the eternal fan who just got really lucky. It's an incredible feeling. I wish I could do more. I hope to be a bigger part of the process as we go on.
I mean, you're welcome here anytime.
Yeah.
I've been trying to drop Fran like a hot potato for a long time. You
No.
know what I mean?
Last
This is
show,
your audition.
everybody.
Yeah.
I
know what's
cannot.
happening here. Try them out.
You know,
I
Fran, we
need
need you
Fran,
to go
though.
report on location. Why don't you go down there?
Smash cut to nobody's here. What's going
Oh,
on?
that's weird.
I need Fran, though. Somebody's got to help me with my hair because I have no idea what I'm supposed to do.
I
with it.
appreciate
that is what
Yeah,
Fran's good
yeah.
at. That's
We had a
weird.
little
Fran
hair
is
consultation before
Yeah?
we did the show.
Did he tell
It
you
was
you're not supposed to condition every day? This changed my life when he told me that. I didn't know
Depending
that.
on your hair type.
I really didn't know that.
Can over condition.
I didn't know that. Now I never condition. I digress. Mitsu, for people who don't know and are meeting you for the first time, they understand you like it. They understand you stream it. What about the Bordercast? What about Ultimate Vault Hunter?
Okay, so the Bordercast is a show that we do on Fridays at 7 p.m. on the official Borderlands channel, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. And one of the things that we get to do is my co-host Tess and I, Tessachka, we get to talk about Borderlands from a more community-oriented perspective.
Sure.
So one of the things that we like to do is to narrow things down. We get to look at these hot fixes, we get to break them down so that people who might not necessarily be familiar with them, they get to understand in a more layman's term, well, what does this mean for me as a FLAC player? What does this mean for me as a general player? What about a casual player? What about a player who is more hardcore oriented? Where do I fit in the grand scheme? And then Tess and I can talk about that because she has different perspectives on the game as a casual player, and I have different perspectives on the game as like a casual hardcore.
The question then becomes, You get this one show, the Bordercast, where you get to go into the minutia, right? Every
Absolutely.
week, see what's going on.
Yeah.
What is Ultimate Vault Hunter?
Ultimate Vault Hunters is a little bit of a different concept where the best woman at my wedding and a close friend of mine, Liz, 55, she is going to be sitting down and talking with some of the more hardcore aspects. This is one aspect that we don't quite go into as much on the Bordercast, which is where Ultimate Vault Hunters kinds of sets itself apart. You're going to have people like Jolt's Dude on. You're going to have people like Killer 6 on. People who are well ingrained in the community,
Sure.
who can delve deep into the numbers, lazy data, who breaks this game down for every element it is. And they will teach you how to be better at this game, where they came from, why they have such a rich background and history and knowledge of these games. And they'll probably give some opinions as well on what they think of the game now and where they want to go with it.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
I love the
think-
fact there's such different products, right?
Yeah.
Because you have one for casuals, you have one for the super hardcore. Fran and I are here. Fran not saying anything of any value. Me trying to carry the show, you know?
Don't
Absolutely.
be mad at Zane, dude. I know that's what this
The
is
problem
about.
is it's
Oh.
flip. The problem is it's flip. When I was picking questions for, of course, kindafunny.com/Borderlands, when I was picking questions this month, so many people are starting to go around the bend now where they're making fun of me and the thing and trying to defend Fran. I won't have
Yeah,
it.
we
I won't
love
have
it.
No.
You're outnumbered at this table. Do you realize that? Because I'm a member of the Zane gang too.
Oh, that's great. Okay. Well, you know, I'm moving on, of course. Borderlands show, everybody. This is your February episode. You might say, hey, where was the January episode? We didn't do one. We were trying to do one, of course, Fran.
Yeah.
We were ready to do one, but the team at Gearbox needed a little bit more time because they were working on so many different updates, so many different cool fixes, things that, of course, were addressed today in the community letter, obviously, that we're going to get pretty much spend a long, long time talking about because so much is going on.
I think we can say it was worth the wait, though. There's a lot
100%.
of
Look at me.
information. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
you mean
look at-
because of the show?
Oh,
no,
wow,
the
man.
stuff we have to talk about is great, too. Graham's
You
gonna be
look great, though.
Oh, thank you.
That's
I do,
what you're
right?
saying.
I
Yeah.
know.
It was worth the
Feeling
wait,
really
you know,
good,
just
yeah.
to see you back.
Thank you, Fran. You know what I mean?
I
I like
really-
2020, Fran.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. And then the other piece of housekeeping before we really get into the nitty gritty of everything happening here on the Borderlands show. Gearbox is, of course, planning to reveal the second paid campaign expansion at PAX East. This will be during their panel Thursday, February 27th. That's going to be at 11:30 a.m. PT, 2:30 p.m. ET if you're over there. You get your first look at the next add-on, as well as a look at the future content roadmap for Borderlands 3. And yes, it will be streaming live on Twitch. Don't worry. You will be able to watch it just like you're watching it now. It'll be up later. It'll be all over the place. You'll get the news. You don't want to miss it, just like all the stuff we're going to talk about today. So instead of talking about that anymore, let's talk about what we've been playing. Of course, it's DLC 1, Moxie's Heist of the Handsome Jackpot.
What we've been playing.
So, guys, last time we had a Borderlands show, we, of course, got to team up.
Yeah.
Liz, Tess, me, Fran. We went out there, the dream team as we call it. We got to play our first taste of Moxie's Heist. Since then, it's come out. I've played it, gotten all the trophies. No big deal. Don't worry about it, everyone. Thank you, Barrett. Thank you, Barrett. Yes, they're right there. Mitsu, what was your take of what you've played? And I'm assuming you've beaten it a million times over and done everything.
Oh my goodness. It's almost better than the main game.
Yeah.
Wow,
It's that, and I love the main game. It's actually one of my top 5 games of all time. The DLC 1,
Yeah.
is
It's so cool.
it enriches the story. It feels so much like Borderlands 2, which I think the story was great, but this took it to another level. This brought back a lot of the plot points and beats that we missed.
Yeah.
We missed Jack.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's
That's-
hard to not feel like Borderlands
Yeah.
2 when it's Jack yelling at you all the time, which is great.
And of course,
It's
minor spoilers here if you haven't played anything. I mean, Jack's in the trailer. I'm not
It's-
saying that's the spoiler. I'm
Yeah.
just saying, hey, if you haven't played anything, we might say something, and you might go, oh, dang it.
Yeah.
I don't know why you talk like that. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I was like, who is that?
No, that was,
That's
I mean,
generic cowboy
yeah.
guy.
I'm right there with you, Mitsu, of like playing it. I was like, this is why I love Borderlands.
Yeah.
And it was funny because as much as we knew going into it was going to be this heist that Moxie was setting up, it didn't dawn on me that the missions I was doing, the team that I was assembling a team.
Yeah.
Until finally I think it was down to like the last 2 people. Like, all right, there's 2 more people, and everybody was talking, and I was like, oh, I see what we're doing. This is rad. And let alone, the environments being so varied, let alone the fact that I feel throughout Borderlands 3, right, like, I was doing fine on money. But then to go into this thing, and it's just like, give me all the cash. I'm playing on Mayhem 3. It's just like raining on me. I'm like, yes, everything.
I had a chance to play with Brooke AB and Symphony.
Uh-huh.
I believe they play Minecraft, Call of Duty, Fortnite, a couple other things. And they were kind of new to the series. Okay? And they had maybe, to that point, I think they were level 15, 16. They'd saved up maybe $1,000.
Yeah.
And then they go in there and they're popping slot machines
Every
and
time.
they walk away with $1 million by the time we finished our playthrough together. They lost their minds. They thought it was the greatest thing ever. We can afford stuff now. We know what's going on. We can just sit around and get money. It was interesting to see that kind of perspective of a new player kind of jumping in there, because there's something for everybody in DLC 1. There's something for everybody. The hardcore, there are plenty of new and returning loots. The Nukem's in there. Everybody loves the Nukem.
Yes.
then,
Oh my God. That's what that was my talking point on it.
The Nukem?
In addition to how beautiful it is, but when I got the Nukem, I was just like, this gun is just so much fun to use.
Yes.
It's just absurd. It's like this mini nuke if you are not familiar with it. But
It
the sound
literally
it
lives
makes,
up to its name.
and it's a good gun as well.
Yeah.
So it's like actually, I mean, it doesn't just look cool. It destroys as well. It's pretty awesome.
It's nice. Rocket launchers have struggled sometimes historically in Borderlands, and to have the Nukem come back and feel a little bit more balanced was wonderful. That's same thing with the ion cannon, which was a new addition for this game. The ion cannon, which we will talk about in a little bit, it was a very strong weapon and a great addition to the game.
Oh, such a cool gun to get.
Yeah, off of a really cool boss, Fabricator. Fabricator was a really fun boss to actually go through. It felt like an old school Borderlands boss.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, there was, I mean, I was running around playing with my wife, right? And it was that thing of like, I'm running, like, okay, don't die. All right, cool. Is he doing the thing? He's doing the thing. Run and get him. Like, you had to wait. You had to communicate, which I love. But for me, it was also then the humor, right? Which Borderlands 3 obviously is chock full. But like, when I launched the guy off on his rocket into space, right?
Yes.
Meeting Clapstructor and building Clapstructor and then leaving Clapstructor in the state you leave Clapstructor, right? Like, it was so good. It was like, this is what I want. This is the characters and the personality and seeing that all exude, right? And even like, I thought they did such a cool thing, and I know it happened in our Let's Play video, but, you know, early on when you introduce Moxie to, you know, the new Jack, right? Proto Jack, right? Of
course.
And she steps off and gets in his face and starts yelling at him from holographic form. It's like, this is rad. This is cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It conveyed the message that it was supposed to. Moxie's in charge. Moxie's in control. Because her hologram is probably maybe a couple inches taller than she is, but she's looking down on young Timothy.
Yeah.
And you really get that sense that Moxie's in charge here, and she's going to impose her will on everything going on, which is wonderful to see.
Did we ever think Moxie wasn't in charge though? Just
No, not necessarily.
but even more so, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just
Absolutely.
nice to see her push people around again.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and hopefully this leads to her kind of running something in the future.
Yeah.
I'd like to revisit this place and see what she does with it.
Yeah, that'd be rad.
That's why I like the DLC so much. And as a reminder, right, I never had the time. I always wanted to get into Borderlands, but I never had time till recently to play Borderlands 1 and 2. And so my sentiment, right, isn't maybe nostalgia is not the same as others, but these two characters just they're so amazing, you know, Jack, and so to have them both in a DLC. But as I've pointed out to a lot of people, the aura, the vibe of the art style and everything is so cool. It's probably my favorite part of Borderlands is this expansion.
Yeah.
The Handsome Jackpot is such a cool location. If you haven't checked it out, you know, they're not asking us to sell you, right, the new campaign add-on. I legitimately had tons of fun in this world.
Yeah.
And it's just beautiful, and the soundtrack is dope as
the
well.
soundtrack.
Oh, my goodness.
So cool.
Yeah.
Oh,
that
wow.
80s vibe to it, right? The synths and stuff. Yeah.
It's really cool.
Capstone by Freddy.
Yeah.
Freddy
Yes.
with his party up front, or business up front party in the back.
Yeah.
Kind of
The
hairstyle
mullet
going
action.
on. Yeah.
Totally.
So good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Only
Had a lot of fun with
complaint I had was at Firebug Trophy because I'm flack and my head was too big to make that jump, and I wasted so many millions of dollars doing it until my wife walked in the room and said, I think your
Right,
hitbox
you
is
have
too
to-
big, and I changed to Moe's, and I was like, dang it.
Zane
Come on.
had no problem, right?
Oh
No
my
problems
God,
with
dude,
Zane.
It's not
right?
about
No,
Zane,
not at all,
no.
because he's the best character ever, of course.
All right, moving on. Every time you do this is going to be a transition. Is that what you want? I'll end this show right now. Mitsu, what is the take in the community read been on farming frenzy and the rare spawn stuff that's been happening, the richest stuff?
Nigh universally positive.
Yeah.
I can't express enough how happy the community is about all of these changes. Every plot point that has been introduced in terms of making rare spawns no longer rare, making it so that if you go and farm something, you have a higher chance of actually getting it. The big issue was you could go and farm something like Grave Ward for a while, and you would just get showered with legendaries. It might not be what you want, but you know you're going to get
Somewhere in
something.
that pile of legendaries was something hopefully you were looking for.
Exactly. And
Before
so
these
now
changes.
the idea is to shift the onus off of going after these big bosses and just getting showered with legendaries and maybe getting what you want, and targeting your farming to what you know you need for your builds.
Yeah.
And for the hardcore audience and the casual audience, This
Oh,
is
it's
a
great.
huge deal.
Sure.
Because if
Casual,
you-
if you know you just want a gun,
Right.
you want this cool gun, you
Yeah.
now know where to go get it, you know how you can actually try to get it.
Yeah, and even casual players know what the current meta thought is. They know what these builds are, but they don't have the time. So you don't have the time to just throw yourself at a big boss over and over again, especially if you're struggling to kill it, to get the thing that you need to kill it easier.
Yeah.
Okay? So if you have a targeted drop, for example, for Amara, you want the spiritual driver mod. So you know now if you go to Celestro and Atomic, eventually Celestro is going to drop spiritual driver faster than if you went and tried to farm it anywhere else.
Sure.
And that's wonderful to see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it gives us something to do. Like that's they had a few weeks of these types of events before where they were mixing things up and increasing. But now that it's a permanent addition, and I know they worked on that for months actually.
Absolutely.
We talked about it on the show, so I'm super happy with it. I know the community is too.
Yeah.
So.
And I think that, going forward, this will be a very jubilant change. There are probably people on Twitter losing their minds right now. I can think of Killer 6 and Jolt probably.
Yeah.
Firing guns in the air, celebratory about how happy they are to finally see this happening.
Well, I mean, there's so much more that is happening, obviously, with the letter today. We're still working there. Remember, of course, if you want to do the DLC, it's part of the Season Pass, also in the Super Deluxe Edition, and then that Rare Spawn Riches event still going on right now you can jump into. And then the big news, before we get to the huge news, and before we reveal the next seasonal event, because there's so much happening in this show, right? Takedown scaling is now a permanent feature.
That is, yes.
Yes, of course, Malawan Takedown came out, and everybody like me and Fran were like, it's too hard. What are we doing? And now it's scaling permanently, right? That's the thing. Mitsu, do you want to explain more about that?
Okay, so when Mollywan Takedown came out, there was a specific vision, I think, that Gearbox kind of had, where they wanted to push players towards going into a more cooperative environment. They wanted 4 players to play these events, these takedowns.
Yeah.
Okay? And that's wonderful. Because I like that idea.
Oh, yeah.
But Borderlands as a whole and as a community, we don't always want to be pigeonholed into having to do cooperative play. We want it there so that if we're hanging out with our friends, there's a challenge for when our friends are there. But we also, not everybody is going to be able to pull people together, or you only have a limited amount of time that might conflict. And you can't just hop into matchmaking, or you just don't want to risk it. Some people just like playing Borderlands alone. For example, my co-host Tess. Tess likes playing Borderlands by herself most of the time. She'll play with other people, but she wanted to try and take Mollywan Takedown down by herself. And so now this scaling change has vastly improved her enjoyment of Mollywan Takedown. Now she can go in, mess around as much as she wants. She's able to clear it by herself. That is a change that's huge for her.
Yeah.
It's a huge incentive to actually go and do it now. And hopefully, in the future takedowns will also have that if that's something they continue doing.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll end up going down that road. It seems like that's where we're going, and we'll talk about it in some of the updates. But they've been just listening to the feedback, and they'll put stuff out. And if we respond, they seem to be looking into keeping those things permanently around. And so I would expect it.
Yeah.
Yeah, with
So-
Borderlands 3, I think that Gearbox is doing such a great job of listening to the community and, taking those things and putting them into action. Before we get off takedown scaling, though, important to point out, the February patch is coming. That will introduce the ability to toggle on or off the original tune for 4-player co-op. So you can, it'll be automatically, it's going to scale to whatever size your party is. But if you want to click it, it's the traditional, your nose to the grindstone, communicate with your team. And
So if your name is Lazy Data, you just keep that on.
That's right.
but enough about that, ladies and gentlemen. It's time to talk about the next seasonal event, Broken Hearts Day, and we've got the first look.
First look.
All right, guys, let's talk about Broken Hearts Day. I have bullet points here from Gearbox themselves. I'll read to you now. Much like Bloody Harvest, you'll see special enemies with hearts hovering around them. Shooting these hearts produces any number of unique effects, from buffing your party's damage output to temporarily converting an enemy to an ally to simply exploding into a pile of loot. I like that one. Yeah, that's the one I want. Plus, the more hearts you shoot, the more rewards you unlock, with 5 total rewards up for grabs, including special legendary items unique to this event. Unlike Bloody Harvest, you will be able to toggle this event on and off. More about that later. This event will be live soon, and you should check out Borderlands.com and Borderlands social channels for full details for exactly when it'll be live and what's going on with it. First take, Fran, go.
I'm just excited they have an event that's free for everyone, that you can dive in and check it out. Ultimately, I love the idea of shooting these different types of hearts and
Taking you. Is this
shooting
hitting
hearts.
close to home? Right?
Heartbreaker. But for me, it's actually what's going to get me excited is like, well, what am I going to earn from this? And I know you
Totally.
get excited by
that's
like
the same way.
the skins and like things like that, and there are things that came out of Bloody Harvest that you could only get then.
Yeah.
And it's always fun to be a part of an event that only happened at that time. Maybe it's going to come back a whole year. We don't know for sure. So go in, get something that's rare that you can kind of show off for a little bit.
Yeah, to run you through them, of course, because I am that guy. You know, Mitsu, we talk about the different kinds of players, right?
Of course.
I'm never the build player. I'm never the one trying to perfect the build. I love playing Borderlands and having a great time, but what keeps me coming back is events and new cosmetics and feeling like I'm making progress. Yeah, trophies for sure. Oh my God, you put a trophy in there. But even Guardian Ring and stuff. For this, though, challenges, right? At 10 hearts broken, you get an Echo skin. Looks very cute with some hearts on it. 25 hearts broken, you get a weapon trinket. It's a heart with a rainbow in it, but then it's got these tentacles coming off of it.
Looks cool.
It looks very weird.
Tentacles?
Yeah, that's right. Tentacles. Weird, huh? 50 hearts broken, you get a Malawan SMG. It's a beam that chains nearby enemies. And then 75 hearts broken, a new player skin. This is Valentine's Day, right? So it's got that pink to it. It's got that black to it. And then at 100 hearts broken, you get the Jacob's Sniper. I said it. One of there. I got there in the end. Yeah.
What
the
was
Wedding
the
Invitation Jacob's Sniper.
It had a couple perks on it that I think they listed.
The Wedding Invitation Jacob's Sniper refunds bullets and ricochets on crit. Ricochet deals about 100% of the damage of the initial shot before the elemental multipliers. Nice. And then bullets are fire, ricochets are cryo.
Wait, ricochets are cryo?
Yeah, bullets are fire, ricochets are cryo. That's
I like
dope.
that. That's pretty
dope.
cool.
Yeah, I like that one a lot.
I like when you can have multiple elements on a particular weapon.
Yeah.
Like tsunami and all that stuff. Yeah.
And that's what I'm talking about. That's what I want. I like the change. I like, of course, like we're talking about, listening to the community. Hey, guess what? We learned with Bloody Harvest, this is toggable.
Yes.
It's only a week long, but if you don't want to be a part of it, just toggle it off. You're fine. You don't have to worry about it. Right?
You have no love in your heart.
It sounds like it'll. Oh wow! Oh,
Damn, that's
dark.
depressing.
That's
dark, Fran.
Wow! Yikes!
Going with the theme, man.
Okay. Sorry, my apologies.
Some people will grind it out fast. Some people
totally.
grind it out fast and they might not like it, and then there might be some people who will grind it out fast and they will absolutely adore it. Like for me, the premise of having a shot have a chance to make an enemy your ally for a little while, mind control. That's crazy. I'd love to know how long it's going to be. Are they going to follow you around for a while? And I'm kind of hoping that they take that if it winds up being successful and maybe apply it to some sort of skill later
get an
on.
enemy type or something that does that. Or,
mind control has been something in Borderlands 2 that existed too. So
Yeah.
It didn't quite work as well as we'd hoped, but I'm always a fan of it whenever it shows up in a game. So if it winds up working out well, I hope they find a way to squeeze it in on other areas.
Yeah.
Now, boys, that's not all. Of course, that's a cool seasonal event. Everybody's stoked about that. The thing that I'm sure the chat's burning up about already, of course, is the new features and other updates that are going to be in February's patch, as outlined in today's community love letter. If you missed this over on Borderlands.com, Gearbox put up a love letter to all of you and us, Borderlands fans. And on top of it, just being, hey, cool, here's stats, here's infographics, here's everything that's happened since launch, here's the quality of life we've done. It was a whole bunch of stuff talking about what's coming to this game and how they're changing endgame optimizations. And I read it and I was like, yes, this is exactly what I want, right? More reasons to turn this game on.
I was just really excited that they took the time to address everything. One of the things that I like about some companies now is they're taking this approach where you'll have developer insights, where leads of teams will sit down and write 3, 4, 5, 10-page treatises about what their vision was, where they are now, and where they're going. The amount of transparency that we have seen coming from developers and publishers now is almost unprecedented
100%.
in the industry and almost unparalleled right now in certain respects for any other kind of industry. Game developers don't have to do this, and they are, and it's great. It's led to some community outcries, especially when things aren't forthcoming. People go, well, where are they? Why are they so quiet right now?
Yeah.
So the hunger and the desire is very clearly there.
Yeah.
For this.
And that's the thing. I mean, Fran, I'll start running some stuff down here so we can talk about it.
Yeah.
Right? Of course, we were talking about the takedown scaling already, true takedown mode. We already talked about that. We knew that was coming. This is the fact that this is endgame optimizations. Mayhem mode 2.0 coming. We've talked about that before. We knew what it was. Something even harder than Mayhem 4. Yeah. Outrageous, but it's here.
Yeah, like we should be able to hear from Graham a little bit on,
of course,
a little bit more what the vision for that is. But we understand, right? It's a replacement for how Mayhem had originally launched, and they changed some stuff with Mayhem 4. But I'm excited to see that get out there because I exclusively always play in True Vault Hunter mode. Mayhem something. Everybody
badass over here. Sorry, everybody.
Trust me, I'm nothing like Lazy Data and Killer 6.
Oh well.
Yeah,
Few are.
those are the
Rare
real
few
breed.
are.
Yeah.
Few are.
Yeah.
All right, then next, the level cap is increasing from 50 to 53. It debuts with Broken Hearts Day, and you're going to get a skill point with each level. But Graham was telling us earlier, right, that that's going to... We'll talk to Graham about that later.
Yeah.
For now, what do you guys think of that?
The fact that there is a level change coming is a big deal because
Yes.
it brings into question a lot of like what your gear's at and what does it mean for fighting enemies and how all that stuff changes because the game is in such, I would say, a good place, but people feel differently and they want some power to chase.
Sure.
So
I want power to chase for sure. That's what I want to be a part of.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I feel like if we went too far, if they extended the level cap and you got a skill point every single time, you're gonna blow up in power and it's just not gonna be fun. Unless they somehow like enhance the skill trees further and further. But I don't know what their plans are for that. So if there are
Graham
none,
will. We'll ask Graham. He'll know.
yeah, it certainly would be a good conversation. So you want to make sure that you're not giving players too much, but you want to reward them for what they're putting in at that time. And I think back to Borderlands 2 and I think back to Borderlands 1, where there was such homogenization in class builds. It was a huge issue. And you don't want that to happen in Borderlands 3 because everything's so balanced right now.
Yeah.
Everything feels great. You feel powerful but not overpowered. And as you continue to build on, it's better for you to go out and farm loot that's more and more powerful than necessarily just be handed a skill point. Even though the skill points right now feel very impactful. Your decisions in your build matter.
Right. Well, and I think that's exactly it. Like, this is several skill points, to your point. It's not like a bunch that's suddenly going to homogenize all the skill trees, because that's the big change with Borderlands 3. I mean, little things can have big impacts. So I'll be interested to see how this makes builds more accessible, but hopefully also, I don't think it'll, like, suddenly, you've got everything you need.
Of course.
So I think that'll be really nice. Meaning there's some builds where I'm like, I need to keep this, this mod on. I'll be in a spot where I'm like, I can just use the extra point now and try a different mod, but it won't completely break things. So I think it's in the right spot for now, and we'll see where they're taking it.
Yeah.
I'm just excited to level up.
Right? Something for everybody.
Then, of course, increased loot drop and rare spawn rates. Yes. For quality of life updates, skippable cutscenes.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yay! Love the story. Love the performances. The third time, I'm like, all right, I understand what you're up to, Calypso Twins. Come on, speed it up a bit. Let's get on with this.
I've heard this before. The speedrunners are going to be very happy.
Of course they are.
Very
exactly.
happy.
How can you beat it now? How fast can you beat it now? As we already said, event on and off toggling, which is great. Then fight for your life improvements was another one they put in here. The breakdown off the letter, right?
Yep.
Will be increasing the interactive area around down players, so it'll be easier to initiate a revive on your teammate. Once a revive has started, the player in the fight for your life state will move slower to avoid moving out of the interactive area. To make it clear, when a down player is being revived by a teammate, we're adding matching efforts to both players, matching effects to both players. In addition, we're allowing multiple players to revive the same target, which will speed up the revive. We expect to have this available in March.
Yeah.
I think again. Thank God.
That's awesome.
That's
Yeah,
awesome. The amount of
it's a huge
times I've been
change.
healing somebody, they move away. I
Yes.
get bumped off. I run past them.
Yep. Yeah, I was going to say, I think we all went through this problem. Like, it wasn't like a huge game-breaking issue.
No.
But it was like...
That's why it's quality of life.
Yeah, it was like a slight but for me, it feels like a big impact, so I'm actually really glad it's being put in. Because, the amount of times you risk going out of your way to, like, help someone out, and then it doesn't work out, and you feel like you wasted your time. So this is gonna be a nice one.
Yeah.
We had that happen a lot during Molly 1 Takedown. Myself, Shifty 5, Damn It to Hell, and Eddie Monster. We all did it together. And there were times when we would get out of each other's way. And during Molly 1 Takedown, if you're out, you're dead.
Yeah.
You're out.
Yeah.
And so that was a huge problem. So I'm glad that it's being addressed now.
Yeah, the fact that they actually are going an extra step to be like, if you have multiple, I almost missed that, multiple people, that'll speed it up. It can become a strategy. You're like, we need to get them up fast. Now you're going to get, a lot of co-op happening just to res people.
Yes.
But I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
Risk versus reward.
Another one I'm interested for Mitsu's take on this to tell me what the hardcore communities think about.
Sure.
This Guardian rank toggling.
Okay.
The ability to turn that on and off, right? That change will be coming in the February patch. It'll allow you to individually disable specific perks. You'll also be able to disable the entire system if you prefer a more vanilla leveling experience. In the future, we plan to expand the Guardian rank system to include additional perks. We're looking to introduce these new perks in tandem with the second campaign add-on, but they will not be tied to that content.
Right.
I love Guardian rank. I think it's so cool. Why do people right now in the community want to turn it off or not have it?
So Guardian rank was a great iteration of the badass rank system.
Right.
Everybody was really hyped for it. It was an amazing idea, and everybody loves it. But you could turn off the badass rank if you wanted to, if you wanted that extra challenge. Guardian rank did not come with that. And there are a couple issues with it. For example, if you are going to play a melee-oriented build, the best way to play a melee-oriented build is to use a roid shield. But if you have additional shielding, if you have additional percentage points where your shield is going to come back faster, you're not getting that roid damage.
Gotcha.
So if you don't get that, why would you bother making a melee build? I'm pretty sure, I'm not 100% sure because I'm not the best math guy, but I'll leave that to Lazy. If you don't have that roid damage, why would you bother going melee? That's one thing that scales back a lot of the builds. You notice there aren't too many melee builds out there right now that have really had an impact on, the general meta thought of the game.
Mm-hmm.
So being able to turn off certain aspects, what you want, what you don't want, will go a long way to enhancing build diversity overall, which I'm looking forward to.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's just side effects of stuff like that sometimes, right? And we also had moments where, they fixed most of that stuff where some of the perks were bugged, and just having the control to customize it, no matter how you look at it, is good.
Yes.
I've had no issues with it. I'm just going to leave it on. But then, like you said, too, there's the other players who are like, they don't even want the extra help of that stuff. They want a pure build, so to speak, and it'll be awesome for them, too.
Again, the speedrunners are going to be very happy, too, because you can't do a legitimate speed run if everybody's got different Guardian ranks.
Yeah. Even the playing field.
Correct.
Even the playing field, Fran. So then under performance and stability, the ongoing stuff that they're still working on, obviously they fixed some of it. They've improved for the most part all of it, but they are still continuing to work on and committed to co-op menu lag. My wife and I thank you whenever that's totally fixed. And then the general bug killing that comes with having a video game.
Of course.
And then the third EchoCast extension update.
Ooh.
The one that breaks my heart every time. The one that Fran sold me
I left
out
you for PC EchoCast
what I mean?
launch, but
3
everybody's
pieces
got
of
to know.
silver, and he stabbed me in the back over it. Left me to play alone.
Only 3? Jesus.
Exactly. I am excited about those changes, though. The team, we got to talk to them at TwitchCon.
Yes, we did.
And there's a lot of cool stuff that I think they've implemented in this one. And frankly, I just think they've been doing a pretty good job with it. And the more changes the EchoCast, the better, because you get the community involved in playing with you, even though they're just watching it. It's cool.
Yeah.
Even on PS4.
Don't
Greg.
touch me. It's too late. You burned that bridge, Fran, and I'll never let you back in. Of course, the full letter can be seen at Borderlands.com. We'll definitely have more questions and a conversation with Graham Timmins, the live lead on Borderlands 3 in a second. But for now, what were your guys' reaction to the community love letter?
There's just a lot happening that we've been asking for a long time. You know? So, I feel like we have gotten quite a few changes, whether it's the vault space or rare spawn events, which have now turned into redistributing the loot to the places that, like you were saying, you can farm. So I feel like it's already in a good spot, but things like Mayhem 2.0 and actually, now we're on the verge of some new skill points and just general fixes even can go such a long way. So there's a lot they're addressing at once. And, like we said, we've been waiting a little while for the next show. Yeah. But there's a reason, right? There's a lot happening at once, and now's the time.
You ain't seen nothing. Wait till PAX East. I'll tell you.
It's going to be crazy.
But you guys...
the amount that's in this love letter, the fact that they actually took the time to do this love letter, I can't say it enough. It is absolutely incredible that a developer will come down and release all this information and let people know you are being heard.
Yeah.
Your concerns are being heard, and that they are going to be acted upon. It's immense. And of course, there's always going to be people who might take heat, but I can only foresee that so many people will just be like, it really is a love letter to the fans, a thank you. My only issue is I wish it was written by Claptrap.
Yeah.
All right. I'm sorry. It isn't perfect for you, Mitsu.
But that has some context, right? You were telling me about this, right?
Yeah.
Like they did this before.
Borderlands 2 said, we heard all of your concerns, and they wrote a love letter saying, here are all the new things you want. Oh, you want mini-maps? We got you, boo. And it was written in the style of Claptrap.
Yeah.
And if you haven't seen it, go back and find it, because it is absolutely hilarious. Because you can hear Claptrap's voice when you're reading it.
Yeah.
It feels like him. And that's my only... It's the dumbest complaint in the world, but whatever. I love Claptrap.
I like how you're like, I like how in 2020 developers are talking more to us. Also, I wish a mascot was the one talking to us.
Man, I kind of want one from Handsome Jack now.
Oh my God, damn.
I'd like a letter from him. See what that looks like.
Imagine if he had written the one for the first DLC.
Yeah, what if he's like belligerent and talking back to the community?
Exactly what he was
So
saying.
many options.
You whiny babies want this, huh, kiddo? Well, you know what I want, guys?
What do you want?
I want to talk to Graham Timmins about everything that's happening in Borderlands 3. Ask him more questions about the love letter. Ask your questions that you send into Mailbag. That's kindoffunny.com/Borderlands. Are you ready? Are you ready?
I'm not ready.
You're
I'm
never
not.
ready. You ready, Mitsu?
Oh, yeah.
All right. I like Mitsu a lot. Let's get Graham out here. Welcome to the Borderlands show, Graham.
Hello.
How are you?
Good.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Is it fun to listen to us talk about the game, or is it you're like, oh god, it's like nails on a chalkboard?
Can it be both?
Okay, fair enough. I'll take it.
It's a little of both. It's a little of both.
Now,
Fair.
Graham, you're live lead on Borderlands 3.
Yeah.
What does that mean? How do you explain that to people?
So basically, I'm kind of in charge of the team that is kind of stewarding the ship here post the game launching.
Gotcha.
All the free content that you guys are seeing, I'm kind of wrangling all that with my team and just making sure that the week to week the game is where we want it to be and making the changes if we need to.
So you're at the top of the pyramid. Then you have what? Different department leads, directors who are running, like you're working on a DLC and you're working on this. You're working on, what would have been Bloody Harvest.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, my team is primarily focused on just the free content like the Bloody Harvest, the Molly 1 Takedown.
Yeah.
And then we also have teams at Gearbox, obviously, that are working hardcore on future DLC.
Gotcha. And how long have you been at Gearbox?
I joined Gearbox back in 2006, basically. I was.
Oh my gosh.
Wow. Yeah, a long timer.
How old are you? You look so young.
Well, thank you. I joined back then. I was lead level designer at Borderlands 1.
Okay.
That was fantastic. Obviously, we're here.
Yeah,
of course. You did a good job.
You did
back
pretty
then.
well. Yeah.
$1 billion franchise.
You know what you're doing very clearly.
So, I really care deeply for this franchise, and I'm really happy to be in this position to go from level designing. I was lead level designer on Borderlands 3 itself, to now just continue to take care of it after the fact. I'm loving it.
And so then, leading the team that's making all the free content, the free events, this stuff, how do you describe like the goal of that team?
I mean, our goal is to continue to like bring value to the game,
Okay.
right? We want to continue to support the game. I'm really proud of Gearbox. We always like support our games post-launch, and this time we're stepping it up even further, where you can get this new content on a pretty regular basis without having to do any other purchasing. Obviously, the scope of it's a little different than our paid DLCs, but it's all added value that you just get by virtue of owning the game.
Yeah, like the game didn't just stop after September, right? Like you guys you didn't just balance stuff. Like you're actively creating free content. It's cool to keep the game alive, past the launch date.
Yep, keeping it fresh.
And so, we're talking about, 5 months later, this game's still going. You're still pumping out content. You're still keeping the audience engaged. For you guys at Gearbox on this team, is it like making different buckets? Like, all right, cool, we're going to do Malawan Takedown. Takedowns are a bucket. Something like Bloody Harvest, Broken Hearts Day, that's a different bucket. And then you figure out what you want to plug in. And are you trying to do it every month, or is it just trying to do it what makes sense?
I mean, we have long-term plans of what we want to do.
Yeah.
And we do have some people who specialize in different kinds of content, but we're a team. We're all helping each other. We're all looking at each other's work, giving feedback, contributing. So while we might have our specializations in that type of content, be it Takedown or the events, everyone works together with the same goal of just making our work better.
Okay. Now, Mitsu,
Yes.
you raised a whole bunch of different points when we were doing the lead in here, and Graham was over there both loving it and hating it as we talked.
Of course.
Watching
One
from
of
the
the things you were talking about was the community love letter and the way Gearbox talks to the audience.
Absolutely.
Graham, how important is that relationship on your side? The fact that you guys are able to freely speak about what's going on and say, we're working on this, it's not done, but we hear you.
Yeah, I mean, I personally read Reddit and our forums all the time, and I'm on Twitter, and I see that feedback all the time. It's really important to us to keep the community in mind at all times. Obviously, we want this franchise to continue to grow and reach more people, and our community is vital to that, right? And it's fantastic to be able to speak to everyone with the way we have. It's been great.
And so one of the things in that letter that we talked about, but I know you have way more to say, was Mayhem 2.0.
Sure.
It's that thing where we've heard about it, we kind of get it. Fran's all excited about it, but I don't trust Fran. To you, what does Mayhem 2.0 mean?
Well, Mayhem 2.0 was an opportunity to make the game better. We launched Mayhem originally with the 3 levels, and back in the fall, we added Mayhem level 4, and it was an opportunity for us to try something a little different. For those who played, obviously 1 through 3, there's a bunch of different modifiers. On 4, there's just 1, and that was directly based on feedback we got from the community about how we built that system. And so based on that, we're like, okay, we've got a really good vibe from the community about what's working, what's not, how can we improve this? And so that led into our design for Mayhem 2.0. Still in progress right now as we speak, still being tested. We're excited about it. You're going to get to see new modifiers that are about being fun. 1 through 3, there's those negative buffs.
Yep.
And we saw on all the streams, everyone just constantly re-rolling those mayhems to get this, the roll that they wanted in terms of that. And so, that's why in 4, they're all positive, and it's positive for you and it's a little positive for the enemies to keep it fresh. So we learned from that, and Mayhem 2 is going to reflect that.
Is there any example of a mod? Even we know, again, it's not totally finished, but could you give us any example of what we could look forward to?
What's the one that we just tested?
It's hard to keep track, right?
That's good, because there's a lot of them.
Yeah. I won't give one specific, but we are playing about how do we use these modifiers or abilities to create fun new play styles or encourage you to play something a little differently. That was what we intended before, is like, here are these modifiers that might help you try something different, but the approach wasn't as successful as we wanted. And so this time it's all about being all about buffs and those pushing you to try different things because it's a positive experience as opposed to a negative experience.
Gotcha.
Sure.
It's cool.
Mitsu, how's that going to go over with the community?
I think it's going to go over well. My one concern is only that I feel like there will still be some people who will be re-rolling, but there's nothing you can do to convince those people otherwise. But going forward, the idea is to promote diversity.
Yeah, obviously, we have all these different types of places to go play in terms of diversity, but also in our builds and whatnot. And, we don't want anyone to feel, if you created a character that was very focused on a particular weapon, let's say you're heavy into SMGs, that's your guy. Whenever you'd get a roll that like buffed or decreased the value of your SMG damage, you're like, I don't want to play that. Let me re-roll.
Right.
So people should be excited to know that that's not how we're taking it, and it's going to reflect more of what was in Mayhem 4.
Yeah, so you can still play with your favorite gun, but if you happen to have, say, a Cutsman and your submachine gun comes up, you're going to feel great about it.
Right, it's about encouraging people to be maybe more efficient with how they spend their time, but it's not going to be like, oh, if I don't do this, I'm wasting my time. It's just about, can you eke out a little more efficiency in your build?
Absolutely.
Cool.
Yeah.
Now, Graham, you're talking about, diversity, these builds that everybody can do different things with and still have a great time with in the game.
Yeah.
One of the things we were talking about earlier in the show was this level cap increase, that it is smaller. You're getting, it's from 50 to 53.
Yep.
Each one of those comes with a skill point.
Yep.
But what goes on from there? How do you not make it like Mitsu was talking about, that when you're getting to level 70, as you did in previous games, this is the build you use or you don't have fun.
Right. So that's something we're really conscious about right now as we're looking at future level cap increases. And, compared to like BL2 and BL3, your perks and your abilities in your skill tree are way more powerful, way more impactful point to point. So just handing out the same number of levels and skill points would really actually just kind of destroy the game in terms of balance. It also homogenize everyone's build. Once everyone has everything, it's all the same, and you can't, express yourself through your character and their gear. In Borderlands 3, we're looking at it a lot differently based on that. In this first one, we're going to do just the 3 levels. And long term, we're exploring some other ways to encourage further player growth that might not be completely tied to skill points.
Yeah. It reminds me a lot of World of Warcraft. World of Warcraft started out with a lot of build diversity, and then as time went on, it became very narrowly focused. It became this is what you have to do. This is what's expected of you if you're going to raid. This is what's expected if you're going to be a group man. Like, it's so difficult for a game to actually allow and encourage you to have build diversity for all of your characters. So I'm glad that you guys are continuing to take steps to make sure that people can play at that elite level if they want, but you can still enjoy everything else that you're doing if you want to on different levels, if you want to play with a wacky melee build.
Yeah. That's the goal, is that, you feel empowered to try out those builds and you feel successful at any point.
Absolutely.
Again, diversity, fun, the changes to Mayhem, we're all on the same theme here. Talk to me about where you guys are at with nerfs right now. I know this is something that came up in the community letter. I'm on the Reddit every day as well, and I see that all the time, right? If people are mad that my flak bill has been nerfed, this is happening over here. Like, and I always see it. Why are they doing this? It's a PvE game. What does it matter if I'm having too much fun?
Yeah. Paul Sage spoke to this a little bit in the past, but we want to encourage this diversity. And, you know, if you see a particular piece of gear or weapon or set of skill combination, a particular build vastly outperforming everything else, a lot of the community kind of feels guilt tripped potentially into doing that, right? Otherwise, they're not playing to their most efficient way. And, you know, obviously people have a lot going on outside of games and they want to be efficient with their time. And if the game has got
life outside of games, Mitsu.
Yeah.
What's that?
No, I don't go outside of my house. Are you kidding me?
Let's not get crazy here.
But, you know, it's not great for those people to feel like, well, I have to do this if I want to invest my time the best way. You know, going forward, obviously, we don't enjoy doing nerfs. That's not our, you know, goal here. But our goal is to make sure that everyone feels empowered to play the way they like and not have to. On the other side, we know there are players who enjoy those overpowered moments. You know, they can be fun. They are fun. You know, we kind of worry, could you get bored if you're not finding reliable challenge in the game?
Sure.
And obviously, recently, we nerfed the ion cannon.
Yes.
That was the last one. But if you think about it, since then, you know, in around that time, we haven't really nerfed a lot. You know, we were really getting to a place where we're happier with the balance. You know, as new gear is introduced, there's always those opportunities where we might have to check something. But in general, we're a lot happier with the balance in the game. And with the ion cannon specifically, you know, we wanted to keep its role what it was. We didn't touch the damage. We were like, nope, the damage we're going to keep. People really like that. But we need to do something where that's not your go-to for every build.
Right.
And so we looked at reload speed and the amount of ammo it takes. And I know some people say, well, that's a double nerf. There's two things that are nerfed. What are you doing? Are you insane?
It's true.
But you got to think about, there are a lot of builds that ammo doesn't matter. You know, Mo's has infinite regen on ammo with the right build. And so nerfing that ammo, it didn't really nerf it for that build. So we, you know, when we're looking at nerfs, we're not looking at it at like, it's a nerf for this weapon. We're like, how do all these different characters and all their different builds react to this weapon and what we're going to do to it? And so we're like, well, let's keep the damage where it's at. Let's do these other things. And we've been pretty happy with that change. And, you know, people can still use it to, you know, nuke some stuff.
I used to be one of those people who was very much in that boat, the kind of person who, I didn't go on Reddit or anything, but I would tweet about it, where you would have,
box.
and it'd be like 37 tweets. So I used to be one of those people who would say, it's a PV game. Why would you nerf it? I did this a lot with Borderlands 2, like especially on release, because there were a lot of adjustments made back then.
Sure.
And I can say, like, there's still some things that broke my heart. The ion cannon kind of broke my heart a little bit, but I understand it a lot. Yeah, it's still there. And but I understand it a little bit more now. I understand that these things are ridiculously overpowered in good ways and bad ways, and that there has to be some sort of adjustment if you want there to be a challenge to the game. Because if there's no challenge to the game, then you're bored. And if
Right.
you're bored, why are you playing a video game in the first place?
Right. And we've got more content to come, right? And we want those moments to still be challenging and rewarding. And if we've got stuff out there already that can melt that content, people are going to burn through it, and they're going to really miss a lot of great moments because they're just rushing through it because they've got all this power. So it's something we're, you know, working on, and we're in a better place.
I would say my only issue is compensation. This is the only thing. And in this case, I guess the ion cannon was just so strong, there was no leeway there.
Right.
But for other guns, sometimes it feels, and this occurs in many different games, you take away in a nerf, and there's no transference of where some of that power can come back. Not all of it, but some of it can come back. So it doesn't feel like you're just removing from the top and not adding anything under.
Sure. I don't disagree with that. I think we've done that in different ways. Like, you know, in the past, we've buffed the anointment bonuses on a number of characters to kind of bring them up in a different way, as opposed to, here's a weapon, everyone has it, it's going to be overpowered for everyone. We're like, okay, how can we bring some other characters up? And so, you know, we're looking at other ways to buff the game,
Right.
That might not be entirely tied to just a weapon.
So you would say it's a little bit better to have a bit of a keen eye towards like asymmetrical changes. So
Yeah.
if you take away from here, we're not adding a little bit of power to the ion cannon. But for example, we're going to say now flak has an increase on the gamma burst anointment from 65% to 115.
Yes.
And that's kind of the compensation angle. So,
and not everything's 1-to-1.
Right.
But we want to be in a place where we're doing more buffs than we are doing nerfs. And I think we're a lot better than we were at launch.
It's good to hear.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Where do you guys right now think you are with the loot grind? I know that's always the question, right? Is there too much? Is there too little? Are the enemies giving out the right way? Are there too many enemies? Too little enemies?
Well, I mean, you're asking the game that has millions of guns. Are there enough? Are there too many guns? It's like, no, there are not too many guns. There will never be too many guns. We love to have all these different weapons. We have all these great tools, so let's do that. So we're going to continue to make more guns. They're going to be in future DLCs and in future events. As far as where they're all living in terms of the loot grind, we're pretty happy right now. Obviously, we are still, generating data, looking back on it. The community event for the farming frenzy, we took a look at that, looked at what the community wanted, looked at what our data was saying, and it matched up. And so, we made some changes there to make that permanent. We'll continue to do that as the game gets further on to the future, like what kind of changes we may need to make. But right now, we're pretty happy with it.
Did any of that play into as level changes are coming? Because that's something I'm now thinking about is like, there's a ton of loot, but all of it's 50, and now we're going to have level 53 stuff. But I can get more loot easily, more easily. So, the level cap, you're going to go up to 53, right? And so you're going to have all this gear that's at 50. Thankfully, 53 and 50 is not so far apart that you're going to feel like your gear is completely just emasculated, right? And destroyed. Mm-hmm. Part of the rare farming, or the farming frenzy event, looking at that, I was like, okay, well, we have future growth in the future. That people are going to have to regrind out these things. If this were to become permanent, that's actually going to help these people get back up to where they were. Yeah. And pairing that when we're looking at how far the skill cap might be in the future, that all kinds of play into one another as far as how we want the loot grind to continue.
Nice, absolutely.
The one thing we haven't gone in depth with you on is the Broken Hearts Day event.
Sure.
Like, where did that idea come from? Right? I mean, are you just looking at the calendar like, well, Arbor Day? I don't want to do any DLC for that. I don't want to do an event for that.
Back in the fall and in the winter, as we're planning out future content, holidays, we know a lot of people are going to be out, but we still wanted something to happen. We have a bigger piece of content. Check out PAX. It's going to be cool.
It's coming up soon.
But
Fran's birthday.
But in the meantime, we wanted to create an event that we could turn around with a smaller scope, but make it in February. And obviously, Valentine's Day is a big day for a lot of people, both good and bad, right?
The
broken hearts.
Yeah, yep. So we wanted to put something together that also reflected a lot of the improvements we've made since Bloody Harvest.
Yeah, and that was my next question: is how does it compare to Bloody Harvest? Because having seen the little bit we got to see in this episode, understanding it in the written word, it sounds like Ghosts, right? Or where it's like, okay, ghosts are coming out, I shoot them, that's filling in my meter.
Sure. I mean, there's a little similarity. You'll get to play this anywhere you want, just kind of like the ghosts were in Bloody Harvest.
Yeah.
But there's more impactful events happening when you see these hearts and you destroy them. Fun gameplay moments happen as opposed to just a homing enemy come at you every time.
Yeah.
So there's loot one. There's ones that put down area effect where it explodes. The elite, enemies become friendly for a short time. We're trying to have a little more variety.
It's more active. Yeah.
Yes. A lot more active. And we've learned from Bloody Harvest, like I said, so that's why it's toggable. If you feel like you've engaged all that and ate all that content up and you're ready for it to be done, you can shut it off. Also, this one's a little shorter. We saw that the community was like, hey, Bloody Harvest was fun around Halloween. And I kept going, and we couldn't do anything about it. You'll be able to toggle this. This event's only a week long in the first place, so you might not want to toggle it off, but if you want to, it's there. It was an opportunity for us to show what we've learned from the community a lot quicker than waiting for this other piece of content that's a little further down the pipe.
This event feels a little less intrusive. Sure. than Bloody Harvest. Because Bloody Harvest, if you were leveling a character, it was daunting. Because you couldn't turn it off, and because ghosts would fly at you and damage your character. Yeah. This, it seems like it's what you're doing with Mayhem 2.0. It's all buffs. It's all positive things. You don't have to worry about somebody coming up and like bashing you over the head with a broken heart, and then you just go down.
Right. I mean, when we're looking at these kinds of events and events like the rare chest riches, these things, those you can't opt out of. Yep. And so we're aware of that, and we know it's like, hey, this is going to impact everyone at all points of the game. Obviously, all of our fans are typically at end game, but we have lots of people specifically during Bloody Harvest who are playing at lower level, and they had this added challenge that they didn't have a way to opt out of. And so that was a legitimate concern that they had, and we agreed. And so we have that toggle shut it off. And, looking forward for these kinds of events, for the community events, we'll be like, okay, for the ones that are these 2-week-long events, if they can't opt out of them, they got to be positive. They got to be good for everyone along all points of their growth.
No. Looking further and talking about, obviously being the lead on the live team, how far out have you guys looked and planned? Like, are you thinking of more holiday events? I assume more takedowns. It seems like everybody loves takedown.
Yeah. We've got more stuff in the pipe. We're committed to continue to grow those events and the takedowns. We're looking pretty far ahead.
Is Takedown going to become the universal standard of how you approach doing Invincibles and things like that? Or will there be things more akin to Borderlands 2 where, for example, for Master G, I can run through Hater's Folly, and I can just pull a gate, open it up, go kill G, which is more daunting than it sounds, and then move on with my life?
So when we went into Borderlands 3, Paul Sage specifically wanted to take that experience and make it bigger. And that's why the Takedown is that.
Okay.
So, our goal there is to make them even more challenging than they had been in the past. And that means you're going to have to work through a decent amount of content before you get to the boss. Yeah. And that's going to be the goal for future Takedowns. That said, obviously, we know that there's a desire for something similar to BL2 that's a little quicker to maybe engage, and we'll see what happens with that. But right now, we're happy with the design change we made to make them feel a little more epic. It's not just a room with a boss in it. There's actual content that goes along with it.
Fran, Mitsu, any questions before we turn it over to Mailbag?
Is there any hint of what to look forward to with the DLC? That you could cryptically put out there that we can speculate on for weeks to come?
We're excited about future DLC, and we know that there's a lot of characters that people like in our world, and obviously DLC is a great place to explore that.
Okay.
So we'll
See,
keep
even
doing that.
It's something to chew.
I'll give you that.
Don't pat him on the back for that PR bullshit. We're excited about the future, and there's a lot of cool announcements coming. Yeah, you know what I mean?
Let's dial it back even more. What's the most exciting thing for you that's coming through the pipeline? Not something maybe pulled from the love letter. Like, what do you really want to highlight for people right now and hope that they share in that excitement?
We're really happy with the response to the True Takedown mode. Okay. I think that was a good compromise to give, people who couldn't quite get to it an opportunity to give it a shot. I'm really happy about that. Okay. I'd say that one is probably I love the Takedown. Yeah. So my answer is going to be around the Takedown. Our goal going into that too is to make one of the hardest pieces of content in Borderlands ever. And I think we achieved that.
My multiple failures say yes.
We have the data. Yes, we achieved it. But I also think that having listened to the community about opening it up to more of our casual players and having the True Takedown mode switch was a great thing.
Awesome.
Well, that community, guess what? It's time for you to ask some questions over in Mailbag. You can, of course, write into kindafunny.com/Borderlands. Get your questions in, just like all these smart people did.
Mailbag.
All right, Mailbag time. This is, of course, where you, the Borderlands show viewers, get your questions answered. We're going to start with your status stacks. See, it looks like statistics, but he says stat attacks. So status
stacks.
Yours says, my original character, we always say, who do you play as? My original character was Flack, but I play more as Amara now. Sorry, Greg. At least it's not Zane.
One more. Now, give it time.
The grind in Borderlands 3 is so much more than past Borderlands. I feel with all the anointed perks and such, plus the vault is now loaded with 300 weapons for other specific builds. Do you, Graham, think there will be a system eventually put into place that we can take our weapons with us as we level up? I'd hate to have to replace all 300 plus weapons, but I'm also up for the grind if this is the case, because if I'm not grinding for loot, am I really playing Borderlands?
Well, yeah. You've got to kind of put in the work a little bit. Part of the game is grinding out those levels. Obviously, we're a lot more conscious of that as part of the level cap. Going to 53 this first time, and we've changed the drop rates. So that getting those back to 53 shouldn't be quite the grind it was before.
Yeah.
You now have those dedicated places to find the loot that you're after that we didn't have at launch. So you'll have to regrind them, but it's a lot of smoother experience than it was probably getting them the first time.
Yeah, I think obviously these questions were written before they knew that. I think that makes it so much easier, right? Because again, grinding is what Borderlands is if you want that
the
perfect
grind,
build,
yeah.
but knowing where to go to get the perfect gun now.
Of course.
I think that's great, right?
Yeah.
Peter writes in, who also plays as Amara. So everybody at the table. Well, actually, Graham, who's your main? Who do you like to play as?
I'm the Zane main.
Yeah.
Segment's over.
I like Zane.
Peter plays
my
Amara.
Zane.
I love the game, and the Handsome Jackpot DLC was amazing. I mainly play co-op and find it very frustrating that the party is disbanded every time you save and quit. Do you have any plans of making it so that the party is still together after you save and quit?
I had that same question not too long ago.
Yeah.
And I actually went to the guy who would have been able to do it. And it was basically, he said, it'd be a huge refactor to make that happen the way matchmaking works. So I'm going to say it's not likely.
Yeah.
I won't take it off the list completely. Obviously, I looked into it myself. I would like that to be a thing.
To play it that way too.
But I trust this guy. If he says it's a big refactor, and for the work that he does, it's significant. So I wouldn't get your hopes
refactor
up.
mean exactly?
Change how the system works.
Okay, yeah, like rebuild. From the inside out,
Change
right?
how
Okay.
the system works as far as matchmaking and keeping your group together, and it'd be a big investment. So
Sure.
I wouldn't hold your breath yet, but until you see otherwise, just wait.
Hyperion Sloater wrote in, main Zane. This is
As
Zane
they all
show,
should.
Man.
How long can we expect DLC for Borderlands 3? A few months? A year? Years to come?
I mean, it's safe to look at our previous history. We've had 4 in the past, major ones. Probably see 4 this time.
Okay.
And then we've actually had 5. We had the 5th one come out.
Yeah.
Last year, years after.
I was
So
gonna
who
say, half a decade
knows?
later.
Never
say
delete
never.
or sell back your copy
No.
of Borderlands
No,
3.
like,
2
ever.
decades from now, we'll put out DLC.
2024 DLC update. I'm looking forward to.
If the community is there, who knows, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Abe writes in, Zane Train, they say.
Zane
Okay.
Train. I
Zane
didn't even-
Train.
Oh, it's better than Zane Gang, maybe. All
I don't know about that.
right, Zane Gang, but that's
Zane-
pretty good. Zane Train.
Hey, Graham!
Greg.
Hey, Graham! I want to say thanks to you and Gearbox for making this my game of the year. I love the areas, levels you and your team came up with, and I can't wait to see what's in store for the future.
Oh, thank you.
I just want to ask, the community has found multiple letters across Pandora, usually outside the map, like a K in Carnivora, and a K. Yeah, and a K in the Droughts. What's up with those Easter eggs? We've been trying to solve it, but no results so far. Thanks.
There's not much to solve there. That is an example of a artist who came on to help wrap up those particular environments. Eric Dosher, he's a fantastic artist. He's also been doing a lot of the comic book, comic
cool.
things
Oh,
on
nice.
Twitter.
okay.
It was basically him just putting a little Easter egg for his kids. It's his
Oh.
kids initials.
Oh.
And there's other little bits and like that kind of spread around the game. I like my team to feel like they can put their own little personal stamp on stuff, as long as it doesn't create a bug, right? As long as it doesn't break anything, and that's just a little bit of our personality coming through in the game and the
That's cool.
environments, and that's what that's about.
I love those little stories, those little
Yeah.
touches, right? Those personal touches.
Yep.
Final question of this Borderlands show comes from JR2576, who mains Amara.
All right.
Okay.
Where you at, Flackers? Come on!
Flackers hat.
JR says, any plans on improving matchmaking? Select specific slaughters or proving grounds, or see who's searching for what to join. Matchmaking doesn't always seem to work.
So back in December, we made quite a bit of changes under the hood to matchmaking where we could, and we have the data show it improved for a lot of people. The time to find a game came down pretty dramatically for a lot of people. As far as getting more specific about the types of content, like literally map or level, we'll have to see. Obviously, as you do that, you split your pool further and further and further.
Yeah.
And we like to believe that our community is engaged with one another. You're playing in co-op. As long as you get into the type of content, once you're in that group, you guys can talk out like, okay, we're going to do this one. Why don't we go try to do this one next, and continue that. So for now, we're going to keep looking at the data, keep looking at the numbers, and we'll make adjustments as we kind of deem. But right now we've seen a really good improvement specifically since December.
Awesome.
Cool.
Graham, you've been a fantastic guest.
Thank you.
Before you go, would you like to give away a golden key, a shift code?
Sure.
All right, cool.
Why not?
Just do this. And then
This is that.
There it is! Wow! Oh, man. Hope that didn't leak the day before. That's always annoying
Yeah, right.
when that happens.
That
Then everybody in chat was like, why is it broken? Like, no, you got it. Yes, you got it
Yeah, right.
yesterday. Don't worry about it. Graham, thank you so much.
Awesome. Thanks
Keep
for
up the
having
good
me,
work,
guys.
all right?
It's fun.
And tell us everything when the cameras are off about everything that's happening, okay?
Yeah.
No.
Sure.
Yeah, okay, good. No, that's convincing. I agree with that. Of course, ladies and gentlemen, there's one burning question about Borderlands and PAX East. So many of you have been asking me. So instead we said, ask a psycho.
Ask a Psycho.
Kyle from Missouri asks, Psycho, are you going to PAX East? No, hell no. I love freezing my balls off as much as the next guy, but I've got a very important wedding to get ready for. I mean, what gun do you get the men who have everything? I'm legitimately asking. But have fun at PAX East with Gearbox. I'll be celebrating true love.
Ask a Psycho.
I tell you what, guys, that's psycho. He's a psycho. You know what I mean?
Who is he?
What
What
a psycho.
What a
Where'd he
great
come from?
body, though. You know what
Oh,
I'm saying?
beautiful.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's another Borderlands show in the books. Mitsu, thank you so much for joining us.
It was an absolute pleasure being here. I'm glad I could be here with you guys.
Our pleasure, man.
Big fan of everything you do. Tell everybody where to keep up with you when the shows are airing.
Absolutely. First, I'll plug the Bordercast because I happen to love doing that show every day. So we do the Bordercast, myself and my co-host Sasachka. We do it every Friday from at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific, right here on the Borderlands channw.
There you go.
And you
Easy.
can, of course, find me at twitch.tv/MitsuShow and on Twitter at twitter.com/MitsuShow, MitsuShow.
All right, Fran, now time to earn our paycheck here. Let's run through again all the dates you need to remember. We'll be back March 18-ish. You know how we are. The show
Yeah,
slips around and does
mid-March.
stuff. You never know what's happening. They're working on a live game. What's going to happen? So March 18th-ish, we'll be around discussing Borderlands 3 second campaign expansion in great detail with all sorts of video. If you want to know more about that, of course, that's being revealed. DLC 2, you tune in to Gearbox's PAX East panel Thursday, February 27th.
My birthday.
Fran's birthday,
Yeah.
everybody. If you see Fran at PAX East, say happy birthday.
Yeah, I'm going now.
February 27th, 11:30 a.m. Pacific time, 2:30 p.m. Eastern time at twitch.tv/GearboxOfficial or twitch.tv/Borderlands. Again, they're sharing the content roadmap, complement today's update roadmap, and then on top of that, telling you what DLC 2 is, talking about what comes after that. Remember, you need to be part of this show, the Borderlands show. You can go to kindafunny.com/Borderlands. Give us your questions for everybody who comes through. Obviously, next month, I assume you need to write in about DLC 2 and what you want to know about it, because whoever we're interviewing will probably be about that. Wink. Follow the twitch.tv/Borderlands. Subscribe to youtube.com/Borderlands game. Of course, follow Borderlands on social media so you see all the cool stuff that's happening, all the different updates, all the golden keys that are getting put out
Yeah.
there.
Exactly.
I
That's a
think
lot.
that's it. We
lot
did it.
to remember, man.
We did it. You're going to forget any of it? Because it's your birthday. That's easy for one of you.
Easy for me to remember. So
Okay.
I cannot wait to see DLC 2. But for now, let's just enjoy what we have. Right?
Okay.
Some new updates, some big drops.
All right. Until next time, Vault Hunters, like,
Follow.
And obey.